Welcome to the center of Tel Aviv and to the site of the Tel Aviv Courthouse, Magistrates and District Court. This building, which was built and finished in 1965, was actually the central courthouse of the whole central area of Israel. It was built on a very tight site, and later it would become the hub, the central area for the whole civic center of Tel Aviv. A very, very large site with commercial, cultural, and state buildings, which would basically, I would say, become the hub of the power and the manifestation of government, of art, and of culture for the whole of Israel. The building itself, original building, 23,000 square meters, was later expanded by this new building, which was done in 2016, and altogether it has almost 60,000 square meters of courthouses, areas for judges, and of course a very large foyer lobby for the general public. 1965, brutalism is at its height. Israeli architects all over Israel are exploring the new language of architecture, and they have a wonderful ground to do that, because there are many, many important public buildings that need to be constructed, and of course one of the most important of them is the courthouse itself. So Yaakov Rechter, my father, basically designs a building that is based upon a very, very simple principle. One element is the public area, horizontal area, the foyer, the lobby, the area where you enter from different sides, and from there you can go up to the different courthouses and different functional elements. The second element is the horizontal part, which is the magistrates court, and the vertical element, which is the district court. So the building is immediately understood because you have one horizontal element, one vertical element, and one podium where these elements are sitting. And the entrance, the main entrance, is in between them. Later, on a very, very tight site, we design the extension to this building, which is the new courthouse, 2016. And this tight site, we had to try to have a kind of conversation with the old building, but at the same time, of course, do something that has a sign of our times. So there are many, many elements that are different but the same. The materiality is quite the same. We have exposed concrete, and we also have the continuation of the horizontal element, the podium, and we have a vertical element, which is the tower. And the tower is set back as much as possible in order to permit for the vista, this beautiful view of the old building to the public when they walk or drive in this area. As you enter the courthouse, the entrance sets the mode immediately and shows us a kind of a humanistic approach, as opposed to many, many courthouses that are extremely monumental, and the scale of the human being has been diminished in comparison to the building. Here we have a very low area of entrance and a huge amount of plants and trees and shade that gives immediately a kind of a relaxed mode to enter the building. And that sets the whole philosophy of this district and magistrate courthouse as a kind of open, democratic, pluralistic courthouse, and not a courthouse that exercises the power of the state over the small civilian. We are standing here at the hub, at the center point of the building. Its unique feature is that it is actually an extension of the public space. It is an extension of the city. It is manifested in the way that the ceiling, structural ceiling, continues inside and goes outside. And it is actually constructed as a cross, north-south and east-west. East-west cross is the entrance and the exit, or the entrance as we want it, and it is the beginning of a very important axis in the city of the pedestrian movement that basically afterwards continues with the Tel Aviv Museum, the library, and later the Camera Theater and the Opera House. So we have actually a string of important public buildings on this axis. The north-south axis is an axis of two light wells, and they are the beginning of the building, the old building, and the end of the building, the new building. These two axes are basically, they form a kind of a public forum, an area of many people to meet together, and it is a much more than a functional space just for the courthouse. As the public enters deep into the building, it encounters immediately a very big, grand, beautiful staircase. This staircase is situated on the edge of the court that brings natural light in. So there is this beautiful light that guides you up the staircase. And the second thing is that you are immediately aware of the movement within the building. You don't get lost. You feel that although you are in a stressful mode, you're about to encounter a trial or something like that, you feel that there is some kind of structure, some kind of order that makes a kind of a peaceful existence within this space. We are now in one of the building's floors. The building itself has an incredible section. It is a multi-layered section where the judge's chambers is one most extreme part, and on the other side is a the courtyard where there is light coming into the building, natural light. In between, we have the courtrooms, we have the waiting area, the area where the public actually sits and enters the courtroom, and we have the area where it is the movement within the building with its grand staircase and elevators. The light well, the courtyard, is of course accompanies us as we ascend or descend from the building, and this configuration of spaces gives us clarity within the movement in the building so we don't get lost. This building is unique in the sense that it has several elements that complete each other. In one sense, it is a very soft space. The space flows from one floor to the other floor. Every person can see each other. People go up and down. People go in and out. The light comes in a very soft way because of the grid, because of the screen, of the concrete screen. But at the same time, scale is very human. It's humane. It's small. It is quite comfortable. You don't feel that you are overpowered by the public spaces in the building. And at the same time, It is a wild, exciting celebration of structure. Everywhere we look, we see different grids, different concrete beams, different structural elements of concrete, of glass, of wood, actually kind of flowing into each other. This makes into a kind of accumulation of experiences that are very humane, very architectural, and very spiritual. One of the most important and interesting features in the section of this building is the relationship, the tension between the three elements that make this courthouse. We have the public space, which is around the courthouse and the courtyard. We have the entrances to the courtrooms, and we have a gallery for the judges. So in fact, the judges who are by law prohibited, not allowed to meet with the public, of course, they do appear in some way, they do exist in the public space. So they could be seen and they could see the public. And this, I think, is a very important, very poetic gesture by the architect that makes this tension apparent in the architecture. This view, overview, peak, this tension of movement and of vision between the sides that make the courthouse alive. One of the most amazing things about this building is the cooperation between my father, Yaakov Rechter, and one of the great sculptors of the 20th century, Danny Caravan. It was one of his first projects, and Danny created a series of sculptures that are embedded in the concrete, and one special sculpture which is called City Gates, that one. This element, this sculpture, was actually the end of the building as it was in 1965. Today it is actually a gate to the new building of 2016. So in fact, it is a gate of generations of architecture. It's a gate of basically that separates or actually connects between a building that starts in 1960 and ends in 1916. We're at the entrance foyer of the new wing of the courthouse that was done in 2016. This project gave us, as architects, the opportunity to come to terms with the great architecture, the great and powerful architecture of the 60s. We had the opportunity to create a building that has a deep discussion with this period and its architecture by taking certain elements and making with them a kind of interpretation of the brutalist period into our time. The space has an entrance which is similar to the main entrance of the building, and has a courtyard which is in a way a kind of a completion to the old courtyard of the building from the 60s. Altogether, we have almost 60,000 square meters of courthouse, which spans 60 years. The new courthouse courtyard is a similar light well to the original court yard that was designed in the building previously. It is on the edge of the building, on the most northern part, and it brings natural light into the whole area inside, especially in the entrance lobby, in the area where you enter. This is a particular point in the building where you can reflect on most of the features of the old building and the new building alike. The relationship between different functions in the building and the way that people look at each other from the inside to the outside, from the city into the building, from the new building to the old building, are all spread out in the most clear way, I would say, in this point. To sum up our little tour of this site, I think the most important thing that I personally learned from analyzing this building, living in this building, and designing the new building is that great architecture could be very, very powerful, but at the same time very humane. You don't have to make a building monumental and diminishing to the human being in order to portray the essence of government and governing. On the contrary, the idea of this building portrays through its details, through its light, through its concrete and structure, through its movement, and through its position in the city, ideas of democracy, pluralism, and openness that reflects on the judges themselves and, of course, on the whole judicial system. So, to sum up everything, I think that this building, and I hope that the new building also, the 2016 tower, shows that we have a composition of three elements: a horizontal building, a vertical building, and a tower. All are hosting a great deal of people in not necessarily in their best moment, people that come to experience, well, quite a difficult situation where they are in court. So our job is to find a way that the building will be comfortable and clear and open and light for these people, and at the same time portray a certain dignity and certain respect to one of the most important expressions of democracy.